Okay, the iPhone 18 Pro is still a ways off, but the rumor mill is absolutely on fire. We're hearing about some truly wild stuff. Underscreen Face ID, browsing the web from space, a completely new chip. But looking at all these rumors, you have to ask, is this Apple's most ambitious iPhone yet? Or is it maybe too ambitious? Drawing from a great report by MacRumors, we're going to break down the 12 biggest rumors and see if Apple is about to take a risk that's a little too big.
We've got a lot to get through. First, we'll look at the display, which might be the most obvious gamble. Then we'll dive under the hood at the new processor and chips, a huge internal shakeup. After that, we'll get into the new connectivity options, which are just revolutionary if they work. We'll also cover changes to the camera and the phone's actual size, and then at the end, we'll pull it all together to see what this thing really is.
All right, let's start with the display, because this is where things get really interesting and frankly a little weird. The rumors point to a complete redesign of the front of the phone, and it all starts by getting rid of something we've gotten very used to.
And there it is, the big one. According to reports, Apple is getting ready to ditch the dynamic island on the Pro models. Now, this would be a massive change, the biggest visual shift in years, and it could completely change how the iPhone looks and feels. But how they're planning to do it? Well, that's where the risk comes in. So, how are they going to pull this off? Well, the idea is to put the Face ID technology right under the screen. This would kill that black cutout and finally give us that perfect all-screen iPhone we've been dreaming of. But, and this is a big but, first-generation underscreen tech is notoriously tricky. You have to wonder how well it's really going to work on day one. That is the million-dollar question, right? If the Face ID stuff is under the display, what about the actual front-facing camera? It has to go somewhere. And here's the two-part plan. Part 1, like we said, Face ID goes under the screen. But Part 2 is the really controversial bit. The camera itself is rumored to get moved into its own little cutout in the top left corner. This is a huge break from Apple's obsession with symmetry, and a lot of people already have thoughts.
Yeah, this change is already causing a stir. You can see it in this comment from a MacRumors reader. People just don't like the sound of an off-center camera. It feels unbalanced. It raises a huge question. Is Apple sacrificing a core part of its design philosophy just for the sake of a change that nobody really asked for?
Okay, let's move on from the screen and go inside the phone, because the gambles on the outside are big, but the rumored upgrades to the processor and the connectivity chips might be even riskier. So the brains of the operation is expected to be this new A20 Pro chip. And the big deal here is the move to a 2-nanometer process, which is a major leap forward from the current 3-nanometer tech. That should mean a huge boost in speed and power efficiency. But first-gen chips rarely come without some teething problems. It could be a performance beast, or it could have issues we won't see until millions of people have it in their hands. But the A20 chip isn't the only major internal shift. Apple seems to be continuing its massive push to design its own components. And this time, it's tackling the incredibly important hardware that handles every single wireless connection your phone makes.
Specifically, we're talking about 2 new custom chips. First is an Apple-designed modem for cellular. This is a huge deal. It means ditching Qualcomm and taking total control. The second is an N1 chip for local stuff like next-gen Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Now, having full control is great in theory, but connectivity is something that just has to work. It's an enormous risk for a first-generation product.
And speaking of connectivity, if you thought a brand new, unproven modem was a big enough gamble, hold on. The next rumor is maybe the wildest one of all. It's about connecting to the internet without any cell towers or Wi-Fi whatsoever.
Seriously, think about it. You're hiking, you're out on the water, you're somewhere totally remote. Right now, your phone's data is completely useless. But what if it wasn't? What if you could still get online? And that's exactly what this is. The rumor is that the iPhone 18 Pro could let you actually browse the web using a satellite connection. This would be a quantum leap from the current emergency-only satellite features. It's true internet access from anywhere. Of course, we have no idea how fast it'll be or what it'll cost, but the sheer ambition is undeniable.
And yeah, people are getting incredibly excited. This comment really captures that feeling. For anyone who travels or lives in a rural area, this could be a total game changer. But it's also another example of a feature that sounds amazing, but has a ton of potential first-generation problems.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the actual look and feel of the device itself. In this section, we'll cover the rumored changes to the physical design, the materials, and of course, the camera system. So here's a quick rundown of some of the other rumored changes. For the camera, we might get a variable aperture, which is a pretty cool pro-level feature for controlling your shots. Aesthetically, we could get some new colors, which is always nice, and a frosted glass look on the back. These are all solid, welcome refinements, but they're happening alongside some much more dramatic changes. And here's another physical change to keep an eye on. The Pro Max model is rumored to be getting a little bit thicker. Again, now this almost always means one thing, a bigger battery, which is great. But it also means a heavier phone that's harder to hold. It's a trade-off.
And not everyone is happy about that trade-off. This comment right here from Off the Orv kind of nails it. A lot of people feel like phones are just getting too big and too heavy. It really speaks to this tension between wanting more features and just wanting a phone that's comfortable to use every day. We have covered a ton of ground here. Under-screen Face ID, a brand new modem, satellite web browsing. It's a lot. So for this last section, let's just zoom out and put all of these rumors together to see what kind of picture they paint. This table really sums it up. On the display, a huge change away from the dynamic island. For performance, a brand new chip architecture. For connectivity, not one, but two massive, revolutionary changes. Then you have some nice refinements to the camera and design. When you see it all laid out like this, you realize this isn't just an incremental update. This is a phone built on a stack of brand new experimental ideas.
And that's the key takeaway here. The iPhone 18 Pro might look pretty familiar on the outside, but the way you actually use it, from the all-screen display to maybe browsing the web in the middle of nowhere, could feel radically different. It's a familiar shell with some deeply experimental guts.
And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Apple is throwing a lot of first-generation tech into a single device. Will all of this stuff, the underscreen sensors, the new modem, the satellite connection, work perfectly and set a new standard for everyone else? Or is this going to be a classic case of first-gen bugs and problems? That's the billion-dollar gamble.
So in the end, the story of the iPhone 18 Pro seems to be this constant tension. It's refining a design we all know, while at the same time trying to start a revolution with risky new tech. We'll have to wait and see if that revolution is ready for prime time, but one thing's for sure, this is shaping up to be one of the most talked about and most controversial iPhones in a very long time.